If anybody's listening, this is just a test stream. I want to try something. I've been too fast, right? Message, boom, boom, one of them, boom, and boom. Test doth work, brother. Nice, 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 nice. Hey, buddy, working. It's working. Good, good, good. What's the quality like? Greg Secker, flipping heck. I'm in my second home, Allerdale, Scotland. Isn't it beautiful here? And then like an aerial view of some insane mansion that like he just doesn't own. Like, come on, man. Oh, God. It's like me tearing up to the Highlands, right, with a drone. Do you know what I mean? And say I'm in my second home, you know, and then just take a picture, you know, or get the drone to go over somebody's like really nice house. It's just so stupid, man. Why you have a green screen behind you? Interesting question. Check this out. Yeah, I always work with green screens, or green screen, should I say. It's normally like this, but whatever, you know. So there you go. This is more about the quality. I want to know what the quality is like. I'll talk a little bit about Bitcoin as well, being as I'm here, but I want to know what the quality is like, because what's happening is on my end on StreamYard, I can see absolute crystal clear quality. It's amazing, right? But for some reason, once I finish the stream and I go, you know, it goes into YouTube and it goes out there, or even on the stream itself. And if I just open up, it doesn't look. Moderation activity is now, whatever. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you see the quality doesn't seem that great. And I'm actually streaming in you know 180p. So it's very, very strange. Like I'm watching the YouTube content now, right? And if there's some feedback, it's going to stop in a second because I'll stop it. But I'm watching it now on YouTube and it's just really crap. Yeah. But in the StreamYard studio, it's amazing. Just absolute crystal. So yeah, not sure. Silky as usual. Good, good, good. We should all drop on one of his courses and just ask silly questions. Yeah, I would do that. You know, I'd go in there and I'd just be like, I'd pretend I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And then like halfway through, I'd just stand up and then make him look like a clown. I don't know him personally, obviously. I'm just sick of hearing his voice. That's all. Quality sound video is perfect. Okay, that's good. Nice one, Fleming. Advanced options. Perfect screen loud and clear. If you think anyone could, it's great. Good, good. Can you go to the 1 hour chart and talk about the recent liquidity grab on Bitcoin? Yes, yes, I can. Give me 1 second, but maybe YouTube's usually crap video compression. Yeah, possibly. Bitrate 8K. Yeah, the problem is, and I'll go over to Bitcoin before I forget. So Bitcoin 1 hour. The problem is with StreamYard is you don't really get that much or that many options, right? It's basically just 1080p or 720. And I was talking to their support and they're basically saying that the problem is with StreamYard, it's more dependent on your internet connection than it is the actual, you know, tech that you're using. So in this case, I mean, I've said many times, I've got an Insta360 webcam, which is insane. Like records in 4K. On StreamYard, no problem. On OBS, no problem. But on this, for some reason, I don't know. But maybe, yeah. So the point being is I can't change the bitrate on StreamYard, but I can change the bitrate on OBS. But then when you're using OBS, it changes some, you know, changes the way you kind of stream. It's really annoying. So anyway, we'll get there. In the end, when I move, which I'm hoping to do this year, what are you wearing? What are you wearing? A t-shirt. I'm confused. A t-shirt and a hat. But I'm stuck on 144p. Yeah. I'll get to the chart in a second, but you guys been smoking something? Oh dear. Yeah, no, the Insta360 is an absolutely phenomenal webcam, right? I would absolutely recommend. I would recommend this webcam to anybody. You know, it was a little bit buggy when I first received it. I downloaded their latest version of their software, which just kept crashing and it wasn't working properly. So I downloaded the previous version and I'm still on that now. Everything works fine. Maybe the question's about cologne. So anyway, look, let's get to Bitcoin 1 hour chart. Let me just zoom right out for a second just to get a feel for what's happening here. So Bitcoin. So this is Bitcoin, right? And let me go up to the 4 hour just for a second so we can get a feel for this. And let me do this. So it makes the screen a little bit bigger. And then I'll just talk a little bit about Bitcoin and see what we see what we're saying. So I've already mentioned this up here in a previous video. 29.5, around about 32.394. We'll call it 32.5. I think we're going to grind into this area up here. Now, before I talk about Bitcoin, you know, in terms of analysis, it's really important to understand, you know, I'm still bearish, right? But that doesn't mean that the market's going to go down. I'm just waiting for confirmation. Once I see it, I'll just buy it, right? But right now, I'm not touching the markets. There's so much going on this week. I think, I'll be completely honest with you, I think what's going to happen is, you know, we'll probably get some continuation on cryptocurrency. Everything will look great, whatever. And then ultimately, as we go into the summer and a lot of these problems, Fed, pivot or don't pivot, interest rate increase, quantitative easing, banks going, all of this stuff, right, is ultimately going to come to, there is going to be a problem with all of this. At some point throughout all of this, something's going to break. Yeah. And there's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever that at some point this year, the market is going to crash. All markets, right? They just have to, because you can't keep playing games, right, with, you know, the way that they're playing games and things breaking and everything else, and it not affect the broader markets. It's just not going to happen. Trust me, the markets are going to crash at some point. So let's go with the face tracking. The 360 would be fun to use. Yeah, I haven't used it, the face tracking, but apparently it's pretty good. So let's talk about Bitcoin. I think it's going to. I think it's going to, you know, continue to. I can't speak. I think it's going to continue to keep grinding higher. Go down to the 1 hour chart, which I don't normally do on Bitcoin, to be honest, because there's no real point. But you can see if we just look at this bit of price delivery, right? We've got this kind of really mundane, boring, mind-numbing grinding sideways, right? And for Bitcoin, to be honest, to be, you know, basically grinding in a 1% range, up and down, up and down, up and down, is pretty boring, right? Pretty mind-numbing. Obviously, it started to accelerate to the downside. Now, I was saying, and I was assuming at the time, obviously, that this was going to continue. It didn't. We ended up grinding higher, you know, and I was at that point, you know, looking for around about sort of 25. We finally broke the 25, and then we came back in. And then at that point, it's like, okay, we'll just chill. We'll just kind of watch, see how things go. And when you're looking at a 1 hour chart, really what you're looking at is the breakdown of the higher time frame. So you're looking at the way price is moving. It's more fleshed out. And you can see you've got this, you know, this impulse here, grinding sideways, another impulse, it reverses immediately. Now at this point, and this is basically how easy it can be done, there's some other factors, but at this point here, it's like, okay, if this is going to continue going low, it has to happen here because it's just negated this breakout. So basically what's happening is Bitcoin breaks out. Yeah, it breaks that 25K, which is a significant number. It looks like it wants to keep going, and then eventually it just reverses and comes all the way back down, and it takes out the low. So as it's grinding, and it starts to grind sideways to this small section of price action here, and then it starts to break down. If it doesn't go and eat into this over here, and it starts to grind back up, you're going straight through 26, you're going straight through 27. It's going to be grinding for a much higher liquidity pool, right? You don't see all of this on the 4 hour or the daily, but if we go over to the 4 hour, that's how it looks. Yeah, it's a little bit more pronounced just here. So you can see, obviously, you know, this kind of run up, the reversal, and then it starts to grind. And on that impulse just there, and I would never suggest anybody do this, but I'm just saying in terms of technical price behavior, the way price is moving, what we're seeing previous to that, the stop run down here, the pickup of buy side, the imbalances, all of that stuff. At this point right here, where my mouse is, at 25836 roughly, when that candle closes, you can literally just buy. You know, you can buy and almost guarantee that price is going to continue going higher. And it's not just because it reversed. It's not just because it negated. It's not just because it tried to break out and then reversed and then tried to go back up again. It's the dynamic nature of the way Bitcoin is moving based on the higher time frames, and the biggest giveaway really is this here, right? Where price basically started to grind lower, 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 and then it reversed an impulse to the upside. Then you get that big, strong impulse here. So at this point, you're seeing a fractal of the 1 hour basically, but on a much, much higher time frame. And then when you measure out the ranges, you're talking about a really good, maybe 3, 4, 5,000, sort of point move or $5,000 move. If we just kind of zoom out a little bit, we'll go up to the weekly. The weekly is obviously impulsed on, that last week's candle. So just here, kind of bring it up. Big impulse on last week's candle, probably get some continuation. It will hit this area. Now, what it does here is going to be very, very interesting. And until price basically gets back below this swing low, right, around about 19.5, so breaks 20 and gets below 19.5, then we'll either just continue grinding higher, or we're going to slow down and start to pull back a little bit. And then that I'm going to be assessing in this area over here to see whether or not it's worth actually buying and whether this is going to continue, for a sort of multi-month run. So that's basically Bitcoin. Let me get back to the chat. How doing, True? You're right, mate. Yeah. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. And again, I mean, there's not really much else. There's not really much else to discuss. I mean, Bitcoin's strong right now. That's it. But the question is why? Why is Bitcoin strong? One can make an argument that money is basically flowing into Bitcoin because it is a place to put money while all of this madness is going on. There's been a little bit of movement in gold, which is not too bad. So if I go over to, PaxG is really, really moving nicely, which I'm happy about because we've got some money in PaxG. But we're getting a really nice run on gold, which is great. I think gold's comfortably going to break 2,000 per ounce. Go over to PaxG as well. Obviously, this is tracking gold. And again, pretty stable. So nice. I'm happy with that side of things. But you can see that gold, Bitcoin, and in some respects, some of the other precious metals, there kind of money's rotating out of some of these risky assets and going into into much safer assets like gold and in this case Bitcoin. And that's why we're seeing this movement on Bitcoin the way that we're seeing it. But I have to remind everybody that we are 2 months up in what is basically a full year downtrend. Like the whole of last year was basically just down. We had a 2-month relief rally, and that relief rally basically, if we take the bottom end of that relief rally, is roughly around about 46%. And if you take where we are now currently, you're talking around 75%. It is actually 75% if you take the low, because I've already done this before. And then we're coming into an area where I expect there to be a little bit of resistance. The demand might kick in. Not the demand, sorry, the supply might kick in, and then before you know it, bang. But there's not a lot holding this up, which is very interesting. But again, I do objective analysis. I don't let my ego get involved. I'm not interested in being right. Ideally, I'd love for it to come down here so I can post a tweet and say, "Ha, see," but that's not what I really care about. What I'm interested in is getting in when it makes sense, where I know I'm probably going to get that really nice run up into, the 50s. And many people will know that I was looking to get Bitcoin around about 14K. It got down to 15 something, didn't manage to grab it. And this is how anal I am. I've had so many arguments with people over the years because they're like, why don't you just buy? Why don't you just buy? Why don't you just buy? Well, I don't want to just buy. I want to see what I want to see. And the reason that I hold on to my money is because I'm like this. I'm really, really anal. I've got no interest in buying at 15K. I want 14K because I genuinely believed at the time that price was going to continue going low and we were going to see some more downside. That didn't happen. So when it flips and it starts to drive back up, it's like you can't buy in that moment. This is what people don't understand. So if you're looking at Bitcoin like this and you're down here around about, say, it just tags 15, just gets into the 15K range. That's coming off the back of a really strong impulse. So as price starts to grind sideways and then it rips back up to the upside, pass through 20, I don't look at this and say, damn it, I missed an opportunity. I'm like, that's impulsing, right? So it's negating the previous move. So at the very least, it's going to slow the breakdown, the move lower, it's going to slow it down. If it slows that move down, what's the likelihood that it's going to reverse? If it reverses, what's the likelihood that that reverse is going to be short-lived? If it's short-lived, what's the likelihood that it's going to reverse again and continue going down in a much larger downtrend? Yeah. If it's going to keep going down in a much larger downtrend, what am I missing? What do I need to see? Yeah. Before I'd even consider getting in this. This last move to the downside, one can argue, okay, that was your first pullback. Great. That's fine. But then you look at everything that's going off around you and you're like, yeah, do you know what? Banks are going under. Inflation's out of control. There's so much going on. Crypto's getting attacked left, right, and center. The SEC's like they've gone nuts, basically. And they just don't care. The entire government, regulatory bodies, the establishment, whatever you want to call it, that, they don't care. They are so brazen now at this point. They just don't care. They're saying things that are so backwards. It's insane. We're not going to protect smaller banks that don't have any systemic risk. Okay, so you've just told everybody to go and run to the banks and take their money out. And because it wasn't like it was before where people were queuing up outside of banks, people just go straight online and they'll just transfer the money out of the bank. And obviously the bank has to cover those, those depositors, right, and move that money. The point being, bank runs have been happening in the background and we're not even aware of it. Yeah, this is what's so important. So while all of this is going on, I'm looking at the charts. I'm like, yeah, do you know what? I don't think I am going to buy at 27. Yeah, or at 50, 27, or at 20, or at 19, or 22, or 23, 24. I'm going to wait, because if this is real, then I can grab it at 28, 29, 30 with confirmation. Once I've got that, love it. Boom. Yeah, let it go. I'm more than happy to grab it at 30,000, right, and go all the way up to all-time high, 40, 50, 60, 70,000. I'm not trying to hold Bitcoin, until I die, and then pass it on to my kids when there's nothing left, and there's just no point of even. Do you see? Like, do you guys get where I'm coming from? Like, sometimes the way that people think is so backwards, it's insane. They're like, I want to buy Bitcoin because they think it's going to solve all of their problems in 10, 15 years time, without even considering what the world's going to look like in 10, 15 years time. They're already bringing in CBDCs as it is. So what I'm really trying to say is, if you're going to buy Bitcoin, and this is my opinion, if you're going to buy Bitcoin as an investment, then make money with it and then use that money for something. Because unless you believe in the ideal of what Bitcoin is and what it can be used for, or what it could potentially be used for, and so on, and you've really got to believe that that is going to be the case, right? And the powers that be aren't going to end up finding a way to either control it or to stop it or to whatever, then go for it. But if you don't truly believe all of that, then it just becomes a moot point, because people are moaning and complaining about all of this stuff. And it's like, dude, you haven't even bought any yet. I've had a conversation with somebody recently, and he was screaming and shouting about listen to this, I missed the crypto bottom. Those were his words. And I was like, so what are you holding now? He's like, oh, nothing. I'm not holding anything at the minute. I'm like, so you're moaning about missing the bottom, but you didn't make any effort to actually buy. He's like, well, and then at that point, mind switches off, do whatever you want, mate. Like, people just moan for the sake of moaning. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Yasu file. George, are you Greek? I'll do the haha for you. Nice. So yeah, again, just a test. This has turned into a little bit of a decent video. What I might do is I might download this, edit it, and then just upload it as a video. Maybe might be worth doing that. There's some interesting things in this that bear repeating, I think. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm back in a sec. Right, there you go. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry guys. I was just let me revisit what I was saying. Cool. Boy said that. He get on na milisume. So yeah, sorry guys. What I was saying, yeah, I apologize. So what I was saying was, oh yeah, well, I'm not going to mention who it is, but he's on the stream. And I was basically saying about this chart that I posted this to this person a while ago when price was up here about a couple of months ago, and I was referencing this as a liquidity hotspot. And there you go. You know, this is a person that I'm mentoring right now. Months ago, I posted this chart, and I was trying to find it. Basically, I was trying to find that chart in the in the Discord that I've been using with him. And here you go. Boom. You know, I noticed while I was doing the analysis, I noticed the price when I was looking at the Bitcoin chart, and then I kind of had a quick glance at it, and I was like, oh, $66, nice, and boom, there you go, right back down to this level. And the reason for me showing this was to explain how patient I am. This is why I get so much crap from people when they're looking at Bitcoin doing this, and they're like, I've missed it, it's not fair, this is your fault, blah 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 blah. Honestly, I can't tell you the crap that I get from people. It's insane. But if they're just patient, and I'm not saying that I'm right all the time, I might be completely wrong about this, and Bitcoin just rips, in the next 90 days to $1 million, and that guy wins his bet, right? Ex-CEO or CSO or whatever he is for Coinbase. But I don't think I am, and I stand firm, on my convictions. I stand firm on my analysis, and just as, US oil has pretty much done what I expected. I expect copper, to really start to rip at some point as the demand kicks in and war looms, closer and closer. I'm expecting the dollar to basically debase and just get worse and worse and worse. And ultimately, just looking at this chart right now, it's just a weekly. Let me just have a quick look at the monthly. Yeah, I mean, this is not looking good for the dollar. We're going to end up back down at 100, at some point. Now, I can look at this and I can tell you 1000%, not even a maybe, right? The dollar's going to end up back at 100. But here's the problem. Somebody will say, yeah, but when? How do I get in? I don't know. That's down to you. That's your yard, right? My job is just to point this stuff out. I can't tell people how to get into the dollar or what to do with it or how to make the most of it or how to navigate it and so on. I'm not a financial advisor, but what I am is a freak when it comes to charts. Dollar's going to hit $100 again. The NASDAQ, it's going to get pounded. The S&P, this is not going to end well for the S&P. We are going to end up down sub 3,000 on the S&P. No questions asked. It's happening. But yeah, like I said, it's not, I can't tell people how to get into all of this stuff. The idea is to try to find a way to, to trade in a way that makes sense for you, or to invest in a way that makes sense for you. Yes. How can someone drum up the nerve to blame you for their action is beyond me. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand it. I've always been mindful of this. I'm very empathetic of the way people think. And a lot of the reason why I can do what I do is because I'm probably better at reading people than I am at trading, which is saying something. So I think the understanding of people's behavior is very simple. They look to, especially in today's kind of society, the way things are now with the internet and a lot of information out there, people are so drawn to, opinions that tie into their beliefs. So if you believe that Bitcoin is, the one, then you're going to look for and gravitate towards people that agree with that belief, and then attack and defend that, information. When somebody says, wait a minute, what you just said doesn't make sense, you'll notice it. We all see it, don't we? Like, I will post something that is perfectly fine. It makes logical sense, and there's no there's no bias one way or another. Somebody will say something in the comment section, and then immediately those people that know me, they will jump in and say, you don't know what you're talking about. We saw it a lot with Evergrow. We saw it a lot with Reflex. We saw it a lot with Seifu. This happens all the time, and that's why I understand it. I get it. I understand why people, feel the need to kind of put something out there, but not taking responsibility, I think, is quite. Well, that's down to the person, man. I mean, I can't force people to take responsibility, but I think my analysis is on point. I'll just leave it at that. Is a weaker dollar good globally? No. No, it's not, because if the dollar gets weaker, like in terms of FX currency pairs, or if you're looking at, say, another currency that is against or pegged against, oh, goodness sake, I can't even speak. If you're looking at other currencies, right, that are against the dollar, so for example, the USD Japanese yen, or the pound USD, or the euro USD, and so on. If you look at this, if you look at the screen here, you can see obviously we have the pound USD, we have the euro USD, USD Japanese yen, and so on. Then obviously for the currencies that are paired against it, it is better. But in terms of the actual US economy, no, it's not. And what happens is, as the dollar debases, the US economy gets weaker and weaker. As the US economy continues to get weaker, because it is a global player, probably, if not one of the biggest global players, or at least used to be. I don't think they have that position anymore. It's getting worse for them. But, because the US is a big player in the global markets, and dollars are used by a lot of other countries to do business when they're buying treasury bonds in the States, or when they're buying bonds in their own countries, and so on, then as that dollar debases, what they're holding also debases and gets worse. Yeah. So if you're, for example, I've said to you guys many times before, I used to order from China. We used to import some things. We paid in US dollars. So when you're paying in US dollars, that means the Chinese companies you're dealing with are taking money in US dollars. So if they then take that money and use it to buy, US treasury bonds, for whatever reason, doesn't matter, while they're holding their treasury bonds and then interest rates are going up, where they purchase that, the yield that they're getting is no longer the same. The treasury bond isn't worth as much. If they have to sell those, they're selling them at a loss. But that's at the dollar where it is now. If the dollar debases and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, they're still holding currency effectively. They're holding the US dollar while it's going down. So it causes a mess. It causes a big, 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 big mess. And ultimately, that's going to filter through at some point, and we are going to see a pretty nasty crash. Yep, I don't steer the market. Nope, I just see what I see. I mean, let me do this. All right. I'll start with CHSB. All right, so CHSB 11 cents. Dogecoin. This is an oddity, and I know you guys. I hate Dogecoin, but I was checking something. That's why it's up there. But Dogecoin is an oddity. This could go either way, right? Bitcoin. I don't think this is finished, right? But again, this can go either way. But I don't think Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency market is going to be able to withstand the entire global implosion, right? As this kind of new system or new wave of system comes in, regulation hits, inflation, hyperinflation, whatever, right? So that's Bitcoin. Binance, I don't think Binance is going to continue going higher. Maybe 360 to 400 before we start to see a little bit of a downturn. Copper, I think copper is basically going to stay where it is, until there's more demand, and then this is going to explode exponentially, right? XRP, lower. Ethereum's going to get, I think Ethereum's got a lot of problems coming, so I'm calling lower on Ethereum. Dow, crash. S&P, crash. NASDAQ, crash. PAX, this will hold. Gold will hold. The US crude, I think, is basically going to go down a little bit more, but it'll probably bounce from here. Dollar's going to end up at 100. We'll see 130 on the pound. We're going to see 115 on the euro. Not sure about pound Japanese yen. Dollar versus yen, probably see 124, but it'll stabilize at 128. Canadian dollar, I think we move lower on the Canadian dollar, but this could also go up as well. Aussie dollar will be flat. Pound Aussie dollar, I can't stand this. I'm not even going to talk about it. The only other one that's of real interest really is not on here, so forget that. This was something I'm checking for somebody else. This will go lower. This is Baba, Alibaba, whatever it is. I don't know why Cardano's on here, but Cardano is going to go much lower. Solana, this will basically just follow the rest of the market. And then this is a stable coin. Wow, did it really go as low as 82. Is this calculated by? No, this is on Gemini. It actually did go as low as 82. Shit, man, that's bad. This is a USDC stable coin. This is weekly, daily. Yeah, so you can see it there. Look, that was the DPEG. A lot of people made a lot of money on this. A lot different than Terra, because obviously this is backed by real dollars, not just some algorithmic kind of minting and burning process. So that was quite interesting. So yeah, that's just a quick rundown of what I'm seeing. And I'm probably maybe, I don't know, 80% right, 85% right on all of those. So yeah. Apologies if I've just reported someone in the chat, little fingers, just going, that's fine. No worries, man. Fleming saying 11655. Yeah, that's on Bitcoin. The 11655 on Bitcoin. It's still a possibility. Still a possibility. The only thing that's going to stop Bitcoin, from going lower, and this is even just revisiting the levels it's already been at, 15K, 20K, whatever, is a real shift in momentum, a real move, right, of assets going out of risky assets, or at least believed to be risky assets, banking sector, and some of the issues, or people taking their money out of some of these places, and wanting to invest or put that somewhere, and seeing Bitcoin as the kind of safe haven or the safe bet. Yeah, that's the only way that there's going to be sustainable volume while banks are going under, assets are being sold, and all of the other problems that we're talking about in terms of inflation and not being able to keep that under control and so on. So yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one, man. It's not easy. It really, really isn't easy to kind of navigate through all of this stuff. Would you switch your dollar to euro right now? No. If I was going to do anything with currencies, I'd wait for what I believe to be the right time, when I know with confidence that the dollar is going to take a pounding, and I'd put it in the Norwegian kroner, to be honest, which I think is going to hold up very, very well. Do you think the USDC DPEG would have been a good trade from a risk-reward point? As a hindsight trade, yes. Which seems like an odd thing to say, but I'm going to give a little bit of more insight. Because USDC is paired to the dollar, right? And because it can be kind of verified a little bit more than Terra was, or some of these other stable coins, and it's a giant, and a lot of big players obviously have money in USDC. It was a little bit more of a, if I was in a position where it's like you've got two choices. So I was presented with Terra, and then I was presented with USDC, and they both depegged to 81. I'd go straight for USDC without even thinking twice. That's the best way that I can say it. But in terms of risk reward, again, I mean, if you purchase at 81, let's say you manage to hit the absolute peak, 81. There's also the risk that it can, that it continues. But if you say, look, I'm going to stick 10 grand in, and I'm prepared to lose 1,000. Do you know what I mean? And if it gets to that 1,000, you close the position out. And this is where, it's all psychology. You see 1,000 down, you're like, yeah, but it's probably going to depeg. And then it goes down 2, and you're like, yeah, but it's probably going to repeg. And then before you know it, you're down like 9 grand, and you're like, why didn't I? These are the types of things that we wrestle with. Sorry for that many questions. Yeah, you've run out of questions. No more questions, Fleming. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. Ask as many questions as you want. No problem, man. No problem. Yeah. So interesting times. Interesting times. I'll give it another few minutes just in case anybody's typing, because I know it can be a little bit tricky on your phone. And with that said, I'll probably close the stream out. At some point on Wednesday, I'm going to jump on. I'm going to try and time it so we can watch the rate announcement, and then kind of listen to him rambling, and I'll give my thoughts and opinions while that's happening. So I'll get all of that set up sort of close to the time. I'll probably put it in the events tab, in the Invested Intelligence Discord. And if you're not already in there, the link's in the description below, or at least will be at some point when this goes live or gets posted online. And good for today. I wish you all the best, and see you tomorrow, my man. Cool. All right. Any closing thoughts? Let me see. Yeah, no, pretty much covered everything. And let me just put DOGE all the way down here near the dollar. It's just an internal joke. It's just me being funny with myself. I don't see anything. There's a lot going on this week, ladies and gentlemen. So just be careful. Yeah, we've got, existing home sales tomorrow. Wednesday, obviously the Fed rate, and then we've got monetary policy for the UK official bank rate. And then I believe Swiss franc as well. Yes, so the Swiss franc on Thursday. Friday, obviously, we've got a lot going on in terms of flash services, core durables, core retail, and so on, and so on. So yeah, a lot going on this week. Markets will be moving. Yeah, so just bear that in mind. And with that said, I'm going to leave you to it, unless there's another question. Oh, there is another question. Thanks for the info, LSP. You're very welcome. EGC chart, just to round off all the usual suspects. Yeah, sure, man. Why not? Why not? If I do that, can you guys see the screen? That's a bit of a stupid thing to ask because I can't even see it. Yeah, okay. So 7683, right. So to be honest, I mean, look, there's not really much I can say about Evergrow in terms of its in terms of its movement. I mean, obviously it's been grinding low. We've had pockets of little rallies here and there, but ultimately, the kind of momentum is still to the downside. Pretty decent selling at the moment. Let me see. I mean, this is obviously very recent, over the last sort of hour or so, couple of hours. But yeah, I don't think that Evergrow is, and this applies to all projects, is going to maintain its momentum to the upside if that happens. So let's say that everything kind of flips and the market really starts to rip. I don't think we're going to see much of anything on any of these kind of sort of popular projects. I think Evergrow is going to continue going down. If you think about what's happening here, right? Check this out. So you've got this drop in September last year, kind of a little bit of a rally. And then going into this year, it's just been kind of grinding lower. Nothing really happening. Obviously, there's this kind of, Atlas Wallet and all of this other stuff that's going to be coming soon. But there's nothing really to get this moving because the market isn't really moving. But here's the problem. If we go back to BTC and then we drop to Binance, Binance has had enough of a little run to warrant pushing some of these tokens higher. We're not seeing that, which leads me to believe that, again, there isn't enough money in cryptocurrency to get things moving. There just isn't, and the only way that I would even consider getting or doing anything with Evergrow is if it impulses so aggressively, that it's just, there's no way that it can't be money coming into the project. That's the only way. Not many of you know this, but I actually posted a chart last year. We're talking a very long time ago. And it wasn't a chart. It was me tweeting saying, I'm very good at looking at charts, this, that, the other. You think I can't see when a chart's being manipulated. It was something to that effect. The point and the reason that I say this is because I will know if it's the buyback and burn. I'll know if it's, and this applies to all projects again. I'll know if it's the buyback and burn. I'll know if it's, not manipulated in a nefarious way, but if the chart is being manipulated, even Swissborg, they buy, the CHSB coin, for example, on the open market, that goes into, the buyback and choose and the buyback and burn and all of this sort of stuff. So, that's kind of manipulating the chart per se, not in a bad way. That's just obviously the tech that they're using and the service, in the thing that they're using. The point being is I'll know it. I'll see it. So the only way I'm going to be even thinking about Evergrow is if I can look at the chart, look at the numbers, go into some of the details and say, yep, this is real money coming into, the project. If not, then I just don't care. Personally, I just think it's just going to keep going low like everything else. And then obviously if we get a really nasty downturn in the market, I've said it many, many times, people protect profits, So yeah, that's that. Where are we? What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. No worries. All right, guys. So I'll leave it at that. I'm probably just going to delete this video, to be honest, because it's just a test video. It wasn't really, for any other reason. I'll delete it from YouTube, but now I'll download it. Maybe I'll pick some of the, some of the sections might be worth going into. But to be honest, it's just normal analysis. So yeah, cool. Yeah, RMTX isn't going to do much of anything, until RFTX is relaunched. So once we relaunch RFTX, and get the FSP up and running, then obviously we can start to push with, all the other stuff, predominantly on that side of the house, the velocity vote. So obviously we're going to be doing the vote internally, and then we'll be pushing, to put it out there in terms of the actual service, the product, and selling it or pushing it to corporate clients, businesses, all of the stuff that we've said before. So yeah, I'll leave you with this, right? And this applies to every and any project that you're in, right? Including Bitcoin, including Binance, including whatever, right? So if you're in something, expect it to be years before it comes to fruition, right? Because we are going through this horrible phase now where there is a lot of stuff going on, and it's going to take some time for regulation to be sorted out, for all of these to be, for everything to basically be put into a nice seamless box, where we can all look at it and say, okay, now we know what's going on. Anything can happen. There's a lot of stuff going on. The SEC is going after quite a few projects, quite a few exchanges, quite a few businesses. I said this last year, and I'm going to say it again, and I think I said it this year as well. We are going to get a lot of businesses moving outside of the US. I think personally the US is making a big mistake. I think they're going to basically destroy cryptocurrency within the US basically what the US is doing is that they are trying to control the narrative with cryptocurrency, right? So they can be in control of everything with cryptocurrency. And inadvertently, what they've done is that they're pushing everybody outside of the US. People are going to start going abroad. They think they're going to be safe, with the financial services. I think it's the FSB. When they bring in regulation, it can affect it can affect other countries around the world. What happens is they are depending on a lot of things falling into place, right? And for people not to basically tell the US to go, I'm not going to swear, but basically to go and do one, right? But that is what's happening. Companies are saying, yeah, we don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Do whatever you want. You want to go after everybody? That's fine. We'll just move out of the US. So ultimately, the US will be separated from cryptocurrency. They will get their CBDC. Citizens will have to use CBDC, and cryptocurrency will go underground. And then you're going to have a lot of that stuff going on again. That's my thinking. And some of these other countries, they're going to flourish. The countries that accept and welcome cryptocurrency development and what it can, sort of do for societies, they're the ones that are going to flourish. And I think the US is making a big mistake. But who knows, right? Who knows? I'll just change the title. Maybe I'll just change the title then. Yeah, it's fine. All right, cool. Leave it with me. I'll get that sorted. I'll be streaming on Wednesday. I'll probably post another video tomorrow. I'm in all the usual places, blah, blah, blah. And I will chat to you guys probably in the next couple of hours in the Discord. Ciao for now.